seat.
Margarita!
Grab a glass, grab a seat. It's 2 Margaritas with Matt.
Drink of full chocolate milk, and first day with my new lips just all over me. So I got chocolate milk all down the front of my shirt the whole show. Like I've been just drooling on myself. It's just not great.
Well, the margarita you have there looks a little bit lighter than a chocolate milk.
Yeah. Well, it'll I get spicier when I drink during I prefer hard alcohol because I don't get heartburn from it. But I noticed during the podcast I really start putting them down, and that ends up with a spicier podcast. So
makes it a little bit more fun.
Like the Megapod, I probably wouldn't have told the Montana joke if I if I wasn't pounding those.
That's what makes it a little more enjoyable. So gotta have sometimes a few more than just 2 margaritas. So
yeah. I had more than that. That Crown bottle had some damage to it at that one.
Well, for the individuals listening to us now, this is 2 Margaritas with Matt. It's the 3rd episode because I only did 2 after last year's off season. Life got a little busy, but this is the most unformatted, just get to know people type of show. Put this thing together just to figure there's so many people around this FCS Fans Nation thing that people got stories to tell and things to say. Now, I had Sam Herder and the Rev on the last ones, but I got to say, we're probably going to spend a little bit more time talking football on this episode than we did on the other ones, learning about Sam and the Rev and their lives. I'd love to have you guys on after the season's done too, but I'm not sponsored by Cayman Jacks, but I'm on the watermelon style tonight. That'll be the 2 margaritas.
There you go.
The show is pretty simple. Once the margaritas are gone, the show ends. So it's not too tough. But I always have a random question.
Downsize then.
Oh, look at that. Should I go with bottles?
Oh my God.
If I did 2 bottles of margaritas, we'd give people they'd have a much longer podcast to listen to on their drive to Frisco. What is that, Adam? 21, 22 hours? What is that?
I think it's like 23.
For Montana?
Yeah. So... yeah, I'm in Wyoming, so it's a little bit closer, but I would not want to drive that. That'd be long.
Well, thankfully, it's in the winter, so it just makes everything a lot easier.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a question.
Wyoming highways in the winter.
Yeah.
Whoa. Brutal. But that's actually, I like to start these things with random questions, and here you go. You're the head of tourism for your state. Sell it to someone who lives in paradise down south. So you're talking Key West. You're talking someone who lives, maybe the Rev. You're down in Galveston. You see the beach every day. You're the head of tourism. We have Adam Healy here, Brendan Thumper from Fight On Montana podcast, and of course, Jackrabbit Illustrated, the B team. So my question, Adam, is go ahead. You're the head of tourism for Montana. I know you're from Wyoming. We're going to go Montana. Sell away.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Montana. I live in Wyoming. You've got Montana has fishing, we've got fly fishing. We've got lots of different types of fishing. You've got national parks. You've got mountains, right? So a lot of it is going to be outdoors. I'm big about hiking and outdoors. So I would totally do the mountains. You've got great pictures that you could sell to get people here with the different locations. And so that's how I would do it. But there's great areas in Montana that just aren't just mountains.
Do you think the mountains are a draw? For me, it's Big Sky and snowboarding and stuff like that. But people come there in the summer. They ride bikes up there. Like they hop on bikes and they take them on the lifts up, don't they?
Yeah. I've heard them doing that. I don't know if they do it now, but way back when I lived there, there's bikes and mountain bikes and motorcycles and all sorts of things that you could do up there. 4-wheelers, ATVs. So.
And see, this is tough for you, Thumper, because I've heard Montana is like a fun Dakota. There's actually things to do. So, and your mountain.
So
I don't have mountains in North Dakota, but yours
we have
can't
mountains.
climb them because they're monuments, right?
Yes, but technically speaking, we do have mountains. If here, you want to hear my slogan for South Dakota?
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Are you in Key West? Do you feel crowded? Do you wake up every morning and hate people? Come to South Dakota. No, in all seriousness, it's funny living in South Dakota now because I grew up in northern Wisconsin, which is a beautiful area to grow up. And the weather is perfection where I grew up, in my opinion. My mom hated the winters. There's tons of snow. But growing up in it, I love snow. I love playing in the snow. So moving to South Dakota was jarring. But personally, I love driving the country a lot. And as far as I can tell, outside of Highway 2 in North Dakota, you can drive most places in this country and find interesting beauty everywhere, wherever you go. Highway 2 in North Dakota will take your soul from your body. And I'm not trying to dig on you, Matt, because I lived up there for a while, and North Dakota has plenty going for it. But Teddy Roosevelt's awesome. But for South Dakota, you do have mountains on the west. You've got you got the Badlands. They're gorgeous. If you like outdoor things, South Dakota is similar to Montana in that respects. I mean, especially since what Montana people don't want to tell you is 2/3 of Montana is just like the Dakotas. Don't lie to people. We're the mountains. It's like a little bit, but it's, the Dakotas, actually South Dakota is similarly set up to Montana with much smaller mountains, admittedly. But if you call the Appalachians mountains, then the Black Hills are certainly mountains. So you do have all those aspects in there. And you know what? If you are an avid indoorsman and you don't want to see people and you don't want to go outside and you don't like the outdoor stuff and that's not what's going to sell you, move to South Dakota. You can do the same thing for cheaper. It doesn't get cold inside. That's not like people forget that. Like it's not cold in my house right now.
That's true. It's not cold in like if you were inside a stadium during a winter game. Right. It's not cold in there. There's places you can do that.
Give me the cold ones. It's so much more fun. It is so much more fun. It's not a stadium. It's a dome. It's not a stadium.
He's just trying to be nice because he's
I was like so a long time to get dome out.
No, so that's an old thing from some people have heard of Any Given Saturday. That's where I met people like the Rev. Is through there, and some of my best friends I've met through there is through Any Given Saturday. It was kind of before you guys had the FCS Fans Nation. That was the national board to go on. A little more rough, a little more cutthroat, but it was a lot of fun. And there was a whole big thing on there for the longest time about, it was a big running joke about what is a stadium. And it came down to criteria of it couldn't have a roof on it, it couldn't have a track around it, and all that stuff. So the big joke was not a stadium. And then every time a Montana fan came in and said, oh, they have to play at Montana, I don't know if they're going to be able to handle it because it's cold and loud. And so that became the big joke is, yeah, you have a nice stadium, but is it cold and loud? So that's a running joke you'll see thrown out there by some of the OGs.
I love that. We were talking about states, but honestly, it kind of leads me into the state we're going down to and kind of the party down there. And I was curious about you gentlemen specifically, because I like to know about you guys. What is your preferred drink of choice for beer or liquor? Because we're about to have quite the party down in Frisco. So if you could only choose one, you can only bring one, you can only drink one. What are you taking down there? What are you taking, Thumper? What's going in the case on whatever?
In college, I used to only drink Old Milwaukee Light by the case. It was absurd. The amount we drank Old Swell and the Dirty 30s. I moved on to Coors Light, and then all my friends only drank Miller Lite, so I drink a lot of that. But now it's hell getting old. My heartburn's bad enough. I kind of, if I'm gonna drink a bunch, like I got to drink liquor, otherwise I'm gonna be having heartburn for the next 4 days without my prescription. So, yeah, I'm a Crown and Coke guy, generally speaking. If I got one drink.
I was going to say, there's got to be, I'm guessing after just the looks of you gentlemen, that this is like, there's put some hair on your chest style of liquor if you are having it. Me, I'm watermelon, Cayman Jack, margarita is like, whoa, it's going to be an interesting night. But think it's a little different from you tough folks up there.
I will buy a neon pink drink sometimes just to look at people. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
Yeah, what do you do? See,
Say something. Say something stupid. I'll laugh at you.
They ain't gonna. What's someone from Wyoming? Is that same thing? Or you go harder with this stuff?
You know, the harder stuff kind of makes me go crazy. So it makes me itch a little bit. So I'm more of an IPA man. So my favorite beer is Grazing Clouds out of the neighbor down the way of Missoula. So I like IPAs, but I love a Moscow Mule as well. So
Moscow. Oh yeah, I've heard good things about those.
yeah.
So what about so your fan base? You know, we got we got the Griz, we got the Jackrabbits. The bars in Frisco can only load up one drink, and it's all your fan base is allowed to drink besides water. All right, it's got to be alcohol based. Adam, what would Griz Nation, based off a percentage, what would you have to load up the bar? I'll give you a beer and I'll give you a liquor. You know,
Okay.
I know weed's legal in Montana. It's pretty sweet, but
Yeah.
you know, enjoy that beyond yourself. I don't think it's legal in Texas, but just beer and liquor here. Okay. What do you got?
So what does the fan base drink?
Yeah. Or what if you had to load them up? You're the owner of the bars. Montana's coming down in the colony in Frisco. They're like, crap, the whole city. You only get one beer, one liquor. What would you load it up with to make Montana fans at least be semi-happy? I know North Dakota, I'd pick Busch Light.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I'd probably do some sort of easy whiskey would probably be a way to do it. So
yeah.
What about Montana?
You know, just with our fan base, I think you'd try to get something local. There's a lot of breweries in that area of Missoula. I would totally get like Muley Buck. Now, is it going to be like the most favorite beer there? No, I'm thinking most Montana people probably drink either Coors Light or Miller Light because it's cheap. But if I had the ability to do it, it'd probably be Muley Buck if it's an IPA. And then I just go with Crown because you can pair Crown with Coke and anything else. So it's a pretty easy drink.
That's a good political answer right there. Nice
there
and broad. No one's upset.
I love how stereotypical these answers are. They're so stereotypical. What do they have in Montana? The hipster Montanan's going to have an IPA. And then what are the Midwestern's going to have? We're going to have Busch Light and whiskey. That's what we're going to have in the bar. And I say that jokingly, but that it's 100% facts. We went to that Twin Cities game, and I was at JI, had a thing with Cactus Jacks, and we're like, you need a lot of Busch Light. And they're like, oh, we'll have a lot of Busch Light. No, you need a lot of Busch Light. And they said, oh, we have enough Busch Light. Well, they open up at 10. They end up opening up 3 more bars in that place and running out of Busch Light before 11:30.
Wow.
You guys pulled a Texas State that just happened last night, I guess, in some bowl game. They drank the thing out.
Well, that's what happened at the local last year,
which is our background tonight if you're watching on YouTube. Yep. Right on the StreamYard.
Of course, they weren't ready. They didn't know. It's not their fault. They really didn't know.
I remember that in 2014. I don't know what the location was, but my buddy Ross commonly says, he goes, NDSU fans at the place we were at basically showed up to a local Applebee's and turned it into a nightclub, and they were not ready. You know, staff was over. I felt bad for them, but it was packed. I'm sure they made a killing. What do you guys expect for turnout for that for fans? What are you expecting? We've heard a million things in terms of, you know, Montana obviously sets the standard. Sorry, Jacks, for outdoor stadium playoff games. They don't mess around. What do you expect for when you look across the crowd? Because last year was shocking. I mean, I looked as a Bison fan. I was like, there's a lot of blue and yellow here.
Yeah.
And I'm rocking my Griz shirt tonight and my McNeese hat in SDSU colors because Rabbit fans don't send me gear. Said only UNDA won't wear, but I don't know if it's a cruel joke or what, but
I don't want to make you do that.
It helps me in this sense, Thumper, because I'm firm on this where I go, SDSU's a rival, but it's not the most hated, you know? So I try to bridge my argument through apparel, if that makes sense. So
that's fair.
But I'm curious on that. What do you think for turnout for the fan base? Do you think it's still going to be that crazy? Thumper from last year? You think it's going to bring that same sort of energy?
Yes. I think it'll be pretty similar to last year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 50-50. And it's not because I'm like, Montana fans aren't going to go like SDSU fans will. That's stupid. They, like you said, their playoff atmosphere far and away is better than ours, and that's a whole thing that you can talk about for hours. If we have Montana fans ask us all the time, but SDSU fans have expected this. You kind of knew this was coming. It was the first year SDSU fans had the confidence to do that, and so I think a ton
did
of them
did it flip, Thumper? Did it finally flip? Did I help you guys out? Did I push you over the edge?
No, the diehards of us, like I'm still, when I buy Natty tickets, I'm going no matter what. I will never just buy them thinking, I'm only going to go to if the Jacks go, because I don't want that evil in my soul. I'm still a nervous Jacks fan. But overall, the fan base had more confidence, and they learned from a lot of other people too, who, like, if you buy a bunch of tickets and you look across the landscape, you've got Montana State, and NDSU were kind of the ones you figured. Maybe Furman. Those fan bases are probably going to show out. You'll recoup your money, was kind of the thought process, I think. So, yeah, it's going to be, I think, even crazier. I know, talking to some people I know, there was twice the requests for tickets for Frisco in November. So there's going to be a huge party. I know our tailgate that we throw from last year, it's the same level of excitement. We've got the same amount of funds as last year to throw a party. We do have a cool deal with that, where we're going to have selfish plug, but we're going to have a big screen broadcasting the game in our tailgate lot throughout the game. But yeah, I think that's probably what it'll be, is my guess, around 50-50 or similar to last year, where people argue about it on the page all day long. It was 60-40, it was 40-60. We had 55, and it's like, who cares? But
yeah, I gotta say, Montana, I can't imagine they don't show out, because, dude, Adam, we kind of let the floodgates open on the page. And of course, that comes with a lot of junk. But at the end of the day, when Montana started erupting, that page jumped from 16,000, and our page is at 22.5 right now. I mean, It went up 5,000 people in about 5 weeks. Yeah. And looking at analytics, it's Montana. I mean, those Montana fans came flying into that page. And I've been DM'd by 4 different fans from Montana now, asking me about tickets. Like, Matt, will they really drop? Should I just go? I'm like, they're going to drop. The scalpers will get nervous. You should just go.
Yeah.
So what are you feeling for Griz Nation? Because win, lose, or draw, this is a long time coming for them, from being one of the best programs, legacy program in the FCS. What do you think?
You know, I know that we've sold out our allocated, and I don't know about SDSU, but I know we've sold out of our allocated tickets per the school. And so a lot of people are going online and paying I don't think it's necessarily the ticket price. It's the getting there price. The airline miles or airline prices are horrendous. Right after NDSU, one of our senators put a letter out and asked the airlines to reduce prices of airline tickets down to Frisco for that week. I don't think it's helped, but it's crazy. Even from Billings, you're talking anywhere between $850 to $1,200 for a flight. So
that's
it's
bonkers.
It's pretty nuts. So
yeah, that's definitely going to have its impacts, I think. But
yeah, I think the Griz will show out, because I think that fan base will, and just with it being 14 years since the last national championship game, I think people are not necessarily that we didn't appreciate it, but then again, we were there for so many times that I think that your long hiatus of it, you appreciate it more, and people are going to be like, well, I'm going no matter what, if I had to pay an arm and a leg, because you don't know when you're going to be back. Even though I think that in the coming years, I think we'll be there more often. You just never know.
I was curious on that in terms of, all right, take NDSU out of it. Let's say that the Jacks, let's say you are both going to Frisco no matter what. We'll throw that out there. You're like, I've already booked it. It's going to be a good trip. Not including NDSU. Jacks and Griz are not there. So those three teams are gone. Not that neither of you would pick NDSU either way. What would you have wanted to see out of that playoff field this year? What would you have gone down for and been like, this is going to be fun to watch? What, you got Furmans, you got these, I mean, pick any of them. Chattanooga, who's like the last one in. You've got UNDs, USDs, all these teams, some that you saw in the playoffs for your squads. Who would you like to see? You got your CAA individuals like Villanova and others who made it in the field. Who would you have been gone down there, had a good time? Because I'm in a good spot. I'm in a spot where I go down there. I'm probably going to wear this and just walk around. I mean, last year, it was my best moment before we got our ass kicked. But me and Jamie are walking in, and a young SDSU fan comes up to me, and he goes like this. He goes right in front of me. I mean, he's just right there in my face. And then in the moment, I took my hands underneath, and I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then my other hand, I went 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I walked away. And so I used his fingers as two of the numbers. And Jamie goes, oh my gosh, you just murdered that kid's life. Now, it didn't help 10 minutes later when SDSU whipped their ass, but that was one of the moments. But what do you think? Who would you have enjoyed to see on a national scale there, Adam? Who would you love to see?
I was really, with us playing Furman, I was really impressed. And I'll be the first one to say I wasn't totally bought in about Furman, but just seeing them play and seeing their defense was just an amazing. Their defensive line, their front seven was just amazing. That would have been a really good see. I would love to see them in the national championship. The other side, I don't know. I just look at some of the teams like South Dakota. Like when they played North Dakota State, I was like, what in the world? This team is horrible. Like, and I don't know if it was just North Dakota State or what, but I was just like, how did they get the 3 seed? Like, this is crap. Like, North Dakota State should have got a seed. This is ridiculous.
And you can't pick the Bobcats, right? I mean,
I will never pick the Bobcats in anything. I have friends that are like from Montana, and they're like, you can cheer for the Bobcats. I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to cheer for the Bobcats in anything. Ping pong, whatever, Scrabble, it doesn't matter. I hope they lose and lose horribly. And they're like, well, they're from Montana. I'm like, I don't care. They picked the wrong school. And so
Adam, you are a man after my own heart, because in 2021, I was all over Twitter and Facebook. I blasted everyone that did that.
Yeah.
Any Grizz fan who was like, I'm cheering for them because they're from Montana, I just wrote back one thing. I said, not a real fan.
No.
I just wrote those 4 words over and over. I said, not a real fan. If UND made the Natty, oh my gosh, I'd be so whoever else they're playing any day of the week.
Yep. I was so happy when North Dakota State kicked the crap out of the neighbors. And I would have bought, when I lived in Montana, I would have wore an NDSU just going down the street just to like shove it in their face. Like, yeah, I hate them with a despise that no one can understand. So, if they make it to the NFL and they're actually from Montana, I might say, oh yeah, hopefully they do well. I'm not going to cheer for them, but hey, I hope they do well. Yeah.
That's
I don't know if I answered that question, but
no, Furman would have been fun. Thumper,
yeah. So I got 2 answers here. I think Furman, like, this is my more serious, plausible one would have been Furman and Idaho. I think that'd have been a blast.
Yeah, Idaho. Cool.
2 new up-and-coming teams with strong fan bases.
The only thing with Idaho was and with everyone that left, were they out of it before they even got into it? Because like with the portal and everything, like, and how they played, like a lot of their star guys did not show up for that game. Were they already on the way out and didn't?
Were the burner phones already getting through?
Yeah.
So
yeah, but if they'd have made it, that'd have been a lot of fun. But my second answer, just to see what would have happened, NC Central and Lafayette making the national title game. Oh,
dude, Bring that
Yeah.
HBCU to Frisco.
Seeing the two conferences that just never ever get respect, would have been a lot of fun. That'd have been a lot of fun. That and the party of the HBCUs at the national title game. That'd have been just a gas. That'd have been a lot of fun. But
yeah, Brian Thompson, the Taco King, him and Amos have become such good friends. He flew down for NCAA&T's homecoming this year.
Oh, wow.
And he says one of the best. He says arguably the most fun he's ever had in college football environment. So it's pretty legit. Their bands and the energy they bring. I mean, that is just something that we've talked about as admins. We got to go experience one of these years for sure. So, hey, let me ask you a fun question, and then I'll ask you a depressing one. So we'll go fun first. You could bring back one former player from your school to play on this year's team for this game, and they're in their college prime. So, you can't bring some guy who's just an NFL stud after 10 years. They're in their college prime. Bring them back. Tell you, NDSU this year, I would have brought back some sort of linebacker like a Nick DeLuca, a Brill Cox, somebody like that, just to stuff them right in the middle. But what do you think there, Thumper? SDSU back in the day, no hate on Montana. SDSU is so deep. As I wrote this question, I'm like, this will be fun. Yeah, this will be. You might have some of the best ever right now.
Right. Well, and you look back, it's like, God, do you want Dallas Goedert back? I mean, yeah, you'd love him back, but you don't need to shore up tight end. Zach Hines is a monster. You bring Jake Winicky back. Well, wide receiver's a monster. There's no way you're replacing Mark Gronowski. What do you need, another running back? You've already got Zay, so and Amar.
Maybe Zenner goes to fullback.
Right. God, that would be scary if you ran like a triple with Zenner as the fullback because he was so good at just exploding. Anyways, we don't need to get off track. I think
that's kind of the point of the show.
I would go back with Caleb Sanders because this defense is incredible, but just having and our D tackles, Brian Williams and those guys are not bad at all, but he was such a game wrecker in the middle, and the D line for the Jacks is good. The line and it's very good, on the verge of great with the way some guys have emerged in the playoffs, with DePriest and guys like that, and Quentin Hicks and stuff. But I think adding him to the middle would add that spice where they maybe have, instead of the amount of pressures they get home a couple more times, and things like that. Because this defense is so underrated. It just baffles my mind. And people go, what do you mean they're underrated? The number one defense, you're an idiot. It's like, well, every time we go to play a team, nobody's like, we need to slow their offense down. It's like, well, I think we can get explosive plays, and they can't match up with our wide receivers, and we can do this on offense and stuff like that. And it's like, where are you seeing that opportunity, I guess, on this defense? And I've said this a couple times, like for Montana absolutely has a shot, but I don't think that's the way you have a shot. I mean, just if you look at Montana's offense, just how it's performed and things like that, I don't think you outscore them. SDSU hasn't given up more than 21 points all year. All year, they haven't given up more than 21 points. And when they have, it's because they pulled everybody in the third quarter and people scored against the second, third string. You beat them and you keep it close like Southern Illinois did, Villanova did, Montana State did. You don't let the offense get in rhythm. You get off the field on third down, which Montana's great at because they get people in third and long. So you need Governor to tear it up in the middle. Here I go, wandering and talking football. We weren't supposed to do that.
Jackrabbit Illustrated right here. Make sure
this is some real B team shit. Here we go. But it's more serious than what we do on the B team. So this is weird.
You even stole my question. I got a list of them just in cases here.
Well, I
said, what's something about your team you've heard all year that drives you nuts?
That is what drives
this
me
the thing?
Crazy. And Stone Labanowitz loves doing it, but it's not even. He loves. The Jacks don't have the athletes Southern Illinois, it started when he was on our show for Southern Illinois Week, because of course he brings Stone Labanowitz on, and like there's a history there between Stone and the Jacks. I don't think a lot of people understand nationally. I mean, Stone had I think he ended his career at SDSU, or at least his career with Southern Illinois at SDSU. Earlier that year, that was the year that they beat in the spring when they beat NDSU. And then he made a comment, and people go, "Oh, this Jacks team would like, what? Like they're going to get wound up what we said on our show." Stone Labanowitz made one off-the-cuff comment about we are out to get the big fish or something like that after they beat NDSU, and that whole damn game when they beat the living dog piss out of Southern Illinois, they were doing fishing motions after they'd sack Stone. So, like they really thrive on that stuff. So there's a whole history there, but he loves saying that the Jacks don't have the athletes to match up, and he did it again this week with Montana's receivers. They don't have the athletes. Explosive plays are going to be won by Montana, and like that's kind of a shtick of his at this point. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's funny. I love Stone. He's great. He's a good dude. But it's kind of everywhere. I listened to some, and not you guys, Adam, or anything. I'm not picking on you.
You don't listen to us.
I do listen to you guys.
Okay.
The episode already. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm picking on Adam here, but
oh no,
it is fun to watch the numbers
places.
between. It is fun to watch the numbers as behind the scenes between both your guys' pods. I mean, they're growing like crazy, but the analytics are
huge.
Are fun to watch for sure.
Yep,
it's cool to see.
We make up for our quality and quantity. There's just I listened to Dave Dickerson and Marty Morningwig had a show. Yeah, I found him. Yeah. I thought they were going to sneak that one by me. I don't think so. I'm looking for content to stoke up here. I'm like a crack whore with it. My wife's all mad at me. She's like, "You were listening well all day." Well, I might have been reading the articles and stuff instead.
A little distracted. The beaten path.
But Dickerson's like, yeah, I think if they can keep SDSU under the 30s, I think this will be a high 20s game. And I'm like, I don't see that. Like, I see if Montana State's winning, oh my God, that's I'm so sorry. That's the second time I've done that this week.
No
more margaritas for Brennan. Yes, we'll give it.
He
was on a 3-second timeout.
Yeah,
3-second timeout.
Wow.
On YouTube. Bounced him out.
That was pretty damn rude. As a Jackrabbit fan, it hurts me more to do that than the amount of times that happens to us on ESPN. But
I think I did that to you last time, so it's okay.
Yeah, it happened. Well, even the gal we're working with at the local with setting up our live show and stuff, she's like, yeah, when South Dakota comes down, South Dakota, we're like, we're gonna stop you right there. I'm just here to save you. This isn't about me. I'm not mad. I get it, but you're going to get burned on a cross if you do that this weekend. Yeah. And I don't know if you were there, Matt. We forgot to tell our DJ, and he tried to open our tailgate last year with Thunderstruck, and he didn't know any better. And it almost turned into a riot immediately, like danger. Like I was scared for that guy's life. And we sprinted to him. Like, no, you don't do that.
No, I caught him quickly after. I tipped him 100. I whipped up. I was like, dude, that was awesome. I was like, today's gonna be bad for me. I just know. So this was the moment. Adam, since Thumper wanted to put some burning anger into your heart, what's the one thing that Griz fans have heard? You've done a lot of head nods the last week I've been on with the podcast. Like you acknowledge that SDSU is good.
Yeah,
like, you're very realistic. But there has to be that emotional fan in you who goes, listen, here's the thing. I'm sick of hearing this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And I guess if you want to bring a guy back as well. What do you think?
Well, I think with the guy bringing a guy back, I think you kind of look at it's kind of hard to do that because then you're like dissing on the guys that you have. And I think we have a lot of great guys. But you look at Brock Coyle that played for the Seattle Seahawks. from Los Angeles. And so a linebacker like that, or even like Thumper said, Dave Dickinson, Hall of Fame quarterback. I think that if we had him, it would be a lot high scoring, a lot more. It's kind of hard to kind of say we're going to beat South Dakota State because they're the number one team, right? They have not looked beatable except for maybe the Villanova game, and I think that Villanova was like 30 or 40 mile per hour winds, right? So that kind of helped to do that. So realistically, we've got to play our best game. There can't be any letdowns. We've got to get A+ quarterback play. I totally agree with you, Thumper, that we're going to have to slow the game down, kind of like what the neighbors did against you guys. But I could see something happening with turnovers or with special teams, where it's a closer game than what people are thinking. That 12.5 that I've seen, the betting odds, I think that's pretty fair going into it. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be under that. I think it's going to be in that 7 to 10 range. If the Griz are going to be winning this game, it's going to be probably that 3 to 7 range where it's going to be a little bit closer. You just have to limit that offense, and we've got to be able to win on third down for our offense to be able to do that. And we've got to run with McDowell. He's got to use his feet. That's going to open up Eli Gilman. That's going to open up the passing lanes for our wide receivers, which I don't know too much about the cornerbacks yet from South Dakota State. Our wide receivers are underrated in the aspect of that they're fast, but they're physical as well. And there's a lot of playmakers on that side that they don't get a lot of the credit because we run the ball a lot this year. So if we want to win this game, we've got to be able to limit the ball.
There's got to be a part of you with the Montana and SDSU thing. Almost, I guess, maybe I can phrase it better. Your team loses. Like, why did you lose the game? This can like compliment the other side, but like for Montana fans, Adam, you guys lose the game. Let's say either of you guys, you're going to lose by 7 points. Why did you lose the game? What did the other team do, or what didn't you prevent, I guess, in your mind? What's been circling in there as you've thought about this matchup?
I would say first downs. We couldn't get first downs. So usually when Montana gets into this kind of hyper state where we're losing and nothing is going right, we'll play bobby ball, in which that means, hey, let's just run it up the middle. Same play 3 or 4 times in a row. And
right up an NDSU fan's heart.
It's predictable, right?
Oh yeah.
And so if we aren't doing well on third down and McDowell is not using his feet and he's trying to throw it, it's going to be ugly football, where we're just going to have to survive with our defense. And I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Our defense is great. I love our defense. If we can't get to the quarterback, if we can't beat this line, which this line from SDSU is amazing and huge, I still think we're going to be able to get to the quarterback. Will we be able to make it a dominant fashion where we're getting to the quarterback all the time? No, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. I think NDSU showed that, where we got to them 3 times when we hurried them a little bit more in the end. But I believe that SDSU's line is a whole lot better than NDSU. So
I'm interested in that because I sent a tweet after the first quarter. I said NDSU's line shouldn't be pushing this well, and like, wow, we look a lot larger on TV. And I've been to Frisco a bunch with my teams down there, and as soon as I walk in the stadium, the first thing I'd look for is the pregame warmups. I'd look at us, and I've seen us before, but I'd look at the other team, and I would just look at the big bellies up front, and I go, in my mind, I'd literally think like, oh, this game is over, or it's not. I'd see James Madison, and I go, oh shit, it's gonna be an absolute battle. And I see Towson, and you're like, this game's over.
Yeah.
So I guess I've saw SDSU last year, and they're behemoths, and yeah, they got another year on them. They're all back. But you guys held your own, and then you adapted and evolved some blitz packages and things, and you really changed it up. So I guess Thumper, same thing, man. You lose by 7. The shock upset of the world. You know, what happened? What did you guys not do that this happened, or what did Montana do?
So just a quick side story on, you mentioned the size of lines, because when we played Illinois State, the announcers they had at that game, I went and checked what this announcer's background was first before I put any stock into this. But this dude used to play for Illinois State and then played in the league for a while. And he's like, I was down on the field, and that was like being by the Dallas Cowboys offensive line.
Jeez.
They're just big boys. But what happens?
McCormick is
neck roll football.
How do you just mix like a tank? And I don't mean this disrespectfully, but like a warthog or like one of those 4-H farm pigs that just wins the competition with like the blue ribbon. Like that's
we call him Juggernaut from the X-Men.
Yeah, that's actually so. Yeah, tank meets like, you know, and pigs are monsters. I raised pigs as a kid. It's not a knock. They're beastly, thick-skinned monsters. Yeah, the hogs. You guys are literally called that. I look at McCormick and I'm just like, this is not. We'd always said at NASU with certain players, you know, now the portal has kind of ruined this, but we'd always say they shouldn't be here. You gotta look at McCormick. You're like, why are you here? He's so big.
Yeah, I hear you. But what happened? What went wrong? And we lose by 7. I think 3 things probably have happened at minimum in that game. Number 1, Clifton went Brock Jensen, Carson Wentz, Easton Stick on us and converted some back-breaking 3rd and 10 or longer with his legs. That's one thing. Number 2, the Griz defense got the Jacks off the field all game. And that's what Montana State did. Like the Jacks had the ball for like a minute in the first half. And then the Salukis, when they came back, the Jacks were barely on the field, and both teams turned the Jacks over, which doesn't happen much, and it usually only happens once. You got to cash that in, and so they'll have cashed in a turnover somehow. And the third thing, they didn't miss when the big play was there, because usually when a team gets gashed with big plays, there was 3 or 4 other ones that also got missed, and they just constantly were open and hit big plays. With this Jacks team, you get 1 or 2. Like we saw it with Villanova. Villanova had the opportunity to go up by, I think, 14 or so in the first half and just dropped the ball. Just hit him in the hands. He dropped the ball. 2 plays later, block punt for a touchdown, and that game was over. So I think they capitalized on every big play they had to hit. They kept that offense on the field or off the field. I just don't think over 4 quarters, Gubner is a stud. He's a monster and he's a game record, but you could tell towards the end of the NDSU game, just in the overtime, that D-line was wore out, and SDSU's O-line will wear you out even worse. So they got off the field all game to stop that from happening, and the offense controlled the ball. And then McDowell extended drives that were in back-breaking 3rd and long positions.
Oh, you guys are getting me excited for this. I don't know. I mean, I've said SDSU is going to go undefeated, win it all since January, but at the same time, who knows what can happen? But
a lot of these guys that we have on our team, they're the blue collar, you know, chip on your shoulder guys. You know, no one expected, and I'll be the first one. After the NAU loss, I could not see us getting to the national championship game. There's people calling for Bobby's job. I'm pretty sure that there's probably for sale signs there in his yard, which have happened to coaches before. So no one could do that. And by the senior led and the coaches, they pulled it around. And I wouldn't bet on this team, but it's going to be a really tough game because the Jackrabbits are a really good team. And I would take Jackrabbits against a lot of the G5 teams. So, which is crazy, some of the bowl games that we have that are such crap games. Oh, my gosh.
They're just terrible. As Bob Stitt tweeted that out. I'll never forget that, Adam. after you guys let him go.
Yep.
He tweeted out, like to thank the Montana fans who are putting for sale signs in my yard. Wife and I just sold the home in record time. Appreciate all the help.
Yep.
I was like, dude, that's a baller tweet. That is awesome.
Yeah, and that's not the only coach that's happened to. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you guys that. I guess you know, your teams get extensions for the portal after, and we don't need to talk about all that stuff. But solve NIL for me. I put out a tweet today that basically things should look like the NFL, and I think that could basically fix it. But solve college football for me. What is the FCS fans' perspective to fix this mess? We don't need to talk FBS this and this, but like it's pretty clear ESPN and Fox will have the NFC and AFC. That's what's going to happen. And that's what it's going to be. You know, you're going to have two networks. They're going to control the whole thing. They're going to have their stuff. But how do you fix it? How do you structure it? I mean, like, you know, you've got players leaving the middle of playoff runs before bowl games. What is the solution here, Thumper, to solve it all? What fixes this problem?
A lot. You have to do a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot. As I said in a reply to your tweet when Kevin Marshall was replying to it, was because he said, make it the way college football used to be. Well, you can't. The NCAA's lost too many lawsuits, and paying players is something that is on the table with that.
And they're going to keep on losing lawsuits too.
Yeah, and it's going to keep going. They genuinely will need, and I think it was an article Sam Herder had retweeted, but it was by somebody else. Colleges are going to be going to Congress to get a loophole, if you want, because I can't think of the right word now. I'm working on enough margaritas.
My man.
A loophole where college athletes won't be considered an employee, but they'll get paid by the university. And then you need the Power 5 to split off, because apparently people are too goddamn stupid to realize that if you want to watch the NFL, you should just watch the NFL. But whatever, they want smaller NFL, which is stupid. And, you know, I guess if you eat enough lead paint chips as a child, that's what you want. And then you work for ESPN. But so they're going to split off and do exactly what you said, that whole deal. And they're going to pay athletes. You're also going to need an exemption for, you probably can keep NIL as it is in the FCS and even the G5 programs, because it won't be so, it'll never get out of hand like it does for your Alabamas and Clemsons and everybody else offering ludicrous money. Maybe have it so the NCAA is allowed to put a cap on it. And then your FBS break off, your P5 break off will have a salary cap, and they're going to do their own thing. And you're not going to be able to do anything to stop it, but you try to get it so that they make it so they can't you can't transfer until the end of the spring semester.
That's
the reason that
minimum,
guys
right?
leave. Yeah, because guys leave in the middle of playoff runs and all this stuff because they've got to be enrolled in the spring for spring ball.
It's not even their fault.
Right. And you have that P5 conference. If they're going to run like the mini NFL, then be the mini NFL and have summer camp instead of spring ball. Do your stuff in the summer instead of the spring. And then you have your transfer period then that you can transfer between leagues in the summer. So you're not killing these other programs. And then you have every large FCS school's wet dream happen where the G5 recombines with the top tier FCS schools. You give teams and conferences the option of what they want to do. Do you want to be a part of the G5 league? Do you want to be part of FCS, which will be the third tier? And you give teams that option. And then I think it wouldn't be fixed, but it would be better. If you're an old fogey just clutching your pearls at the thoughts of amateurism, these kids get scholarships and they should be happy with it. Or you're a band, I've heard some band folks who, they should be happy with their scholarship. Tough shit. That's not the way the world works anymore. Get over it. Cry me a river, build a bridge, and get over it. These guys get paid, and they should. Sorry, they should be able to go to Applebee's in the hometown and do a damn commercial for them. They should be able to get bagels with cream cheese from their team. I mean, part of the reason this legislation happened is the NCAA was so stupid about what they did. But that is my dream scenario. And then your G5 has a playoff, regional conferences, break up stupid, silly shit like CUSA and that dumpster fire, break up some of these overdone and bulky conferences, realign people into some geographically rival-centered conferences. Hell, let's do the Snow Belt because that genuinely would be a hoot.
Let's do the Snow Belt. Would be amazing. Never going to happen, but it would be great.
I would love hating Adam for a week. But if anybody knows me, they know I would hate Montana every day of the week. I don't exactly have a soft spot for Montana right now, but that would be a gas. So that's my long-winded answer. That's not original. That is taken from multiple different places.
Yeah,
and that is my dream scenario.
Well, I think the president of the NCAA already kind of like proposed something kind of like that, where
they are proposing,
yeah, so that they're like $50,000 that each kid or half of the team would get
the revenue sharing,
yeah. Sure. So yeah, I agree with Thumper that that's probably where we're going to go. It's crazy because I don't want to be playing for bowls, bowl games, because it just like tears apart my soul. And I think like Montana, like we've gotten offered to go to different conferences, but you just kind of you want to play for a championship. And so until that happens, I don't think we're going to be jumping up anytime soon. There's too many people that are in our fan base that want to play for championships. And the money we would have to try to come up with, the $5 million, raise fee to get up to the FBS killed some of these schools. That's a huge jump. And so I don't see it happening soon. I do think that as a Griz fan, you've got to be able to be aware of it and act on it real quick, because there's going to be a time here in the near future that you're going to be left behind, or you're going to jump up and you're going to do this. So I would love the Snow Belt. That would be an amazing conference. I don't know if that's going to happen. It might be something where we enter the Mountain West and kind of do that way. And it's kind of like a shortened, condensed version of that. But that's what I think. I agree with you, Thumper.
Yeah. One more dream thing I want to add to that. One more thing. I would also want promotion and relegation. You would have a relationship with an FCS league with the G5 leagues.
Yep.
And you would have promotion and relegation between the leagues. That would be so fun. It'd be so fun.
I think that there should be 4 conferences, and each one of the champions should go into a championship, like where the top of the FBS plays the bottom. So you have all the champions in a tournament. That would be awesome. It probably wouldn't be too good for some of the lower ones that get these FBS schools, but it would be kind of cool, the real champion, not just of those leagues. So
see, the only issue you guys have is your ideas are based around the student athlete and like the love and pride of college football. You're not worrying about money.
Yeah.
And you got to worry about TV networks and the money. So we don't go down
my idea, the way it sits is because, like you said, the money. I think the money would be there for that G5 league.
Yeah.
Because that money's here's the reality. Those G5, the money that they have, which Conference USA, your money is a joke. It gets laughed at and peed on by the Dakota schools, and I'm pretty sure Montana's media contract. You're a joke. But the money would come back. I genuinely think that G5 FCS merger would become hugely popular with if they cut the midweek games out and you bring these big fan bases that were, let's not kid ourselves. Like some of these teams that are FBS now that have nobody there, they used to. That's why they're FBS. They don't have empty 45,000 seat stadiums because they never had anybody. Like a lot of these places had prideful, in-depth, involved fan bases that could come back if they played for something that mattered.
I like
And
that.
money comes from that.
What matters? That's true. What matters? That leads me to my last question. Before I get there, I will say I loved in my tweet where I said the contracts. Like if things are going to be broken now, like a legitimate player contract, not a signing day thing. So if let's say take our teams, because I bet we'd all do it. Montana, SDSU, NDSU, take us across the board. And our coaching staffs go, we only sign players who take 4-year contracts. And you miss out on 3 stars, 2 stars. Heck, you miss out on 1 stars because you take that philosophy. But you take the kid who's way underrated and you can develop him your way, and you've got him for 4 years. And unless he goes to the NFL or gets cut, he's on your roster. Because that's a big thing, right? Like FCS is about developmental. NDSU should never have happened. These 10-year championship runs. You know, you should get a chance at 2 or 3, and then the recruiting class turns over. And so I like the idea of contracts because you could run it your own way. You could have an Incard out there who's like, yeah, 1-year deal, NIL, go ahead. But then their free agents come that next year. So, well, we could go down the rabbit hole there, and we'll discuss that all in Frisco. I did have a final one because, as per the rules, I'm drinking a little quick here, but what does this natty mean to your program and your fan base? You win the national championship, and there always seems to be a narrative. Like 2013 NDSU, it came out afterwards. They were like, we wanted to go undefeated and be one of the best ever. 2018 said same thing. We kept it quiet, but we wanted to make the mark that we could be that 2013 style team. 2017, they wanted the revenge tour on James Madison. And then there's different reasons for fan bases' emotions, right? So, Adam, what would it be? Montana wins this natty. What does this mean to you as a fan base? What does it mean to you? What are those players as coaches? What is this thing for? What's it mean?
Well, for the fan base, it's everything, right? We're a proud fan base, and every fan base has, you know, those diehards that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't handle that fan base. Montana probably is one of those fan bases where you have those diehards. But yeah, that's why you like college football, though.
Adam, I've removed more Montana fans for personal attacks on our page than any in a span of a month. I don't know what they're angry about. They're so angry, but like there's a lot of good ones too. But boy, there's so they're nice in person.
Yeah, and I think that they're gonna be. But there's a lot of fans that think that the media and everybody else is out to get Montana, which, you know, comes with history that I think with coaching staffs and everything like that you kind of look at. It for everybody else, the Montana as a whole is probably like, we're back, bitches, and then you better get used to it. That's probably what the atmosphere probably what you'd probably hear. You know, it would be a lot of crazy things happening on that campus. It would just be amazing to see. But yeah, that's probably where you're going to get a lot of it. You might be having to kick off a little bit more Montana fans off of you, FCS Fans Nation.
Hey, if you win, it's good for engagement. But I was going to make that meme of the guy the superhero who's sweating. He's got the 2 buttons, and it's like analytics and stats of the page skyrocket. Deal with Montana fans. But hey, there are thousands of great ones because I see it every day. You know, it's just like anything in life. You can look at that political argument or the whatever the heck, and you can focus on that negative. But there's my mom and dad always said a great thing. They said, you see a disaster on TV, look at the people who look at the ones who are helping, because they're not the ones being shown, but you can always see them. So, yeah. And there's a lot of Montana fans who help that page be really good. So I kind of feel like you guys, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it would be like Nebraska or Dallas getting back to the top, right? Like, yeah. You know, you're never irrelevant. People know who you are. They love or they hate you. There's no middle ground. And I think that'd be pretty cool. So, Thumper, this has got to be you're the top dog now. The Spider-Man movie, when the Green Goblin says to Spider-Man, he says in the first one with Toby, he says it was fun to be the hero for a while, but the thing people love more than anything is to watch a hero die, fail, fall, That's you now, right? You that's you guys. It's not NDSU. So what would this mean, an undefeated year?
Well, first off, it's really incredible that in the beginning of our
7
villain
margaritas with
arc.
Matt, man.
I'll see that bottle, buddy.
Right? About yay down so far.
There you go. Good job, man.
But it's really funny that in the beginning of SDSU fans villain arc, they've managed to have 2 fan bases against them in Frisco that made people want them to win. It's truly like there's no way that ever happens, and we got that lucky.
Yeah, if you guys are playing Furman, nobody wants you to win.
Everybody would hate our fans, like, because our fans are not quiet either, but Montana fans are just so much louder. It's like when I get drunk at the bar with my wife. Okay, I get loud, but I'm like loud and fun, still probably annoying. But if there's a dude screaming and breaking chairs, like everybody's like, no, that guy's all right. It's kind of like that. But for what does it mean for Jacks fans? Number one, it means that this is SDSU's 2013-2018 Bison team. And then Jacks fans and NDSU fans will argue about that at the bar for the next 70 years.
And Thumper will come to agreement here. Oh, maybe we won't, but we can argue that. I will not accept anything over 96 Marshall. And I have my iPhone notes saved. So it's like we got 96 Marshall.
For sure.
You can argue whatever the hell you want.
Yep.
And Adam knows how good that Montana team was.
Yeah.
Because when you look up the statistics, sorry, I'm going down a rabbit/bear hole. I don't want to upset anybody here. When you look up the statistics of 1996 Montana, how good that 14-0 team was before the Natty, it's bonkers.
I remember watching that game where I was like, oh, we're going to win. And then it was just like blew up. And you're like, who is this? Randy Moss, what? And it's like
20 Montana FBS win that year. They blew out every team prior at Natty by like 20 to 24 points. And then they hit Montana and lost by, or they hit Marshall and lost by 20. I mean, Okay, so Thumper, sorry, cut off the Jack royalty here. But
hey,
go ahead.
You know what? Us Jacks fans could use a little humility right now. But it'll be that you'll have that argument locked in stone that people have been trying to start all year, and I'm like, knock it off. First off, like, it's so asinine to compare mid-run before it's over. And yet it's stupid from both ways. It's stupid from SDSU fan side because it's not done yet. Job's not done. You can't compare. It's not done. They haven't won a national title yet. You can't compare that.
Don't mean a thing without the ring. Golden State.
And then the other argument that we get, well, this NDSU team had this many NFL players, yada, yada, yada. It's like, well, Jesus, none of these guys have had a chance to go to the NFL yet. Let's relax. So there's there's all sorts of that. So that stuff drives me batty. It'll mean that the Jimmy Rogers era has started off how you expected it to, based off of the recruits he had, but it also means you probably have a pretty good coach as well at the same time, because it would have been really easy for this team to get overconfident and drop a game and then get focused and hammer everybody, but they really never did. It'll be one more step for SDSU fans where outside of the loud ones who are already trying to say dynasty, which chill out, guys. But the ones, then you'll be able to say, well, maybe, all right, we got a dynasty going, I think it's 7 of the last 8 or 6 of the last 7 years in the semifinals, 3 national title appearances, 2 national titles. That's dynasty-ish. Like I can listen to the argument. Now, is it compared to NDSU's dynasty? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. That is the greatest dynasty in the history of any collegiate football team. So you can't compare to that. But that's
Thumper.
Alabama-esque.
You ready for this?
Yes.
Watch his facial expression, Adam. You guys were one ACL tear that doesn't happen.
I know, from 3 in a row.
From 4 in a row.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I mean,
Or
honestly, it's very.
if you win this one. Sorry, Adam, if you win this one.
That's okay. No, how many?
I sincerely believe that.
How many championships do you have to win to become a dynasty?
I think you need 3 in 5 years. I think 3 and 5. I give that one little. People say 3 and 4. I think you need 3 and 5.
Yeah, and if you don't have 3, then you got to have a lot of semifinal and appearances.
Yeah,
that you've lost.
I think you need 3.
Well, yeah, I think with what Matt's saying, you got to recognize there's dynasty and then there's blue blood. Like, dynasty's above blue blood. Like, you can be a blue blood. I think SDSU was a blue blood before they won a national title, just with the consecutive semifinals, consecutive years in the playoffs. I mean, all that stuff. You can become a blue blood that way, where you're a mainstay and making runs. You get the dynasty by winning national titles and a bunch of them.
I saw Adam Soul die while Thumper tried to justify blue blood to a Montana fan. It was just like, I just watched his soul die. He's like, we've been here 35 years.
Listen here, you young whippersnapper. Hey, we've got almost half as many playoff appearances as you, and we got here we were eligible in 09. So
yeah.
Adam's like, these young bucks.
I know,
listen
right?
Here,
so,
you little bastard.
He's like, Adam's like, you don't even know what a Georgia Southern and App State is.
Exactly.
We beat Georgia Southern.
Adam's like, I remember when Youngstown was good.
Yeah.
Back in my day when Jim Tressel was at Youngstown State, and it wasn't even called the Valley, it was the Gateway, and you and I actually won stuff. And
oh, such classic.
I think that the NDSU has changed that dynasty term, and like,
yeah,
can you really, like, if you win 3 or 4, like, are you really a dynasty? Like, I think you've got a whole bunch of blue bloods now that are chasing that one dynasty that happened.
Yeah, I think when you look back in FCS history, I think you've got to give Youngstown in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And then I think you've got to look at App State getting their 3. And then NDSU, obviously, you could break it into almost 2 parts. James Madison split it up, but they had the 5 in a row, they lost, and people forget they won 3 in a row again. And then you got SDSU, who's got 2 here. If they win, if the Griz take it from them, everything kind of resets. So before those early 90s, I don't recall anything in the 80s or 1978 prior, which would indicate 3 natties or close to that. So
no,
I think FCS wise, that's what you're looking at. But
you'd probably get Montana fans that would say that we are a dynasty.
Yeah,
but, we didn't win the national championship as much as you probably would want. We were there, and we made a lot of moves to the semifinals and then championship games. But I would say we were kind of a dynasty in those early years. Compared to now, no, we're just a blue blood.
And to your point, Adam, NDSU kind of ruined the term. They ruined a lot of things. They're just like, you can win 2 natties, and people are like, are you even that good? It's like, well, take NDSU out, and it's pretty damn good. So what I do know is good is both of you gentlemen, and Adam, hoping you can still make the trip. There's still GoFundMes and charities out there, maybe get you down. If not, we've done some good for some underprivileged individuals either way.
Exactly.
Thumper, I'll see you down there no matter what. And you gentlemen, I really hope the game goes well. It's injury free. And I am the innocent Frisco fan bystander, as I've tagged here on YouTube tonight. And I'm just hoping for a really good game. And I'm sure both of you would prefer a blowout, but hopefully we see some sort of classic. Either way, I'll be happy for both of you. Some good, interesting play. So, Thumper, any final advice for those Jack fans before they head on down to Frisco?
Advice?
Yeah, any advice?
I was gonna do a little shit talk, but we'll do advice. Advice is better. That's classier.
You can do shit talk too. That's fine.
You know what? Let's do shit talk because you know what? Advice. They've been down there.
Well,
each of you get your chance. A little bit of crap here at the end, and we'll roll it out.
My advice: get there early. Go, and this is for any fans, Montana fans, Furman fans. I don't give a shit. Go no matter what. We're going to have the game on a big screen, like the size of a pickup truck, big screen. So even if you are nervous, like, oh man, I don't know if I can afford tickets and I don't know if the drop of tickets will be there, go anyways. I promise you, going and watching at a tailgate there will be better than whatever your home bar experience is. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you it, because the experience is the weekend. It's not just the game. It's the weekend. I mean, the game's the reason you go. the experience, the things you're going to talk about. Yes, of course you'll talk about the game, but you're going to talk about how you went to the local, or, if wherever the Montana fans end up going, go anyways. You will not trade those memories for the world when you go. It is worth it. Go no matter what. My shit talk is, I hope SDSU blows out Montana. I don't just hope, I desperately want. And unfortunately for Montana fans who have really gleefully brought up 2009 over and over and over again during this, I want you to remember every time you brought that up, if it so happens that SDSU jumps out to a lead, I want you to hear me in the back of your head going, Jimmy Rogers was on that team. That was his last game in 2009. What do you think he's going to do? I want you to hear that if that does happen. I don't think it does, but if it does happen and SDSU jumps out to a lead like they did on Albany, I don't think Jimmy Rogers pulls the starters at all, even if they're up 70 points with how that game ended in 09. So just keep that in mind. What you've gleefully enjoyed, hypothetically, could kick you in the balls, and I won't feel bad. I'll be laughing the whole time, screaming for more sportsmanship. So gone out the window.
Oh, talk about history. Well, Adam,
I paid to stream that in northern Wisconsin.
Oh gosh.
That was the first sporting event I've ever paid for, and I'm just jumping up and down and stoked. And then it turned into and that was like the worst weekend ever. It was terrible.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Adam, advice and crap talk here?
Well, advice, I would definitely go and show up and show the nation what Griz Nation looks like. And so, crap, I would just say, I would ask a question to you, Thumper.
Okay.
Is your coach good, or did he just inherit a good team?
That's a good question.
Because
Good.
usually you give 3 or 4 years for a coach to prove that he's done anything. He hasn't done much. Like, he's had a senior led team with a bunch of hogs in the O-line. Like, do you ride and die with this guy even though he's not really proven?
I will,
because he was a backup quarterback in 09, wasn't he?
No, he was our starting linebacker.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Not even. No, wrong guy. That's the offensive coordinator.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and he wasn't there in 09. He's younger than Jimmy.
Okay.
No, Jimmy
Adam
was
is
a
coming
linebacker.
from the top rope here. He's like,
Jimmy,
I'll be nice the whole show.
I want you to Google Jimmy Rogers, South Dakota State football 2007, and take a look at that headshot, and then go tell him he was a backup quarterback.
I don't. 2007. I don't like Googling South Dakota State that year.
Yeah, it was a great year. It was my favorite year. It was my first year at SDSU. But here I am complaining, doing the same thing to Matt. I will say this: he learned from Coach Stig. Coach Stig was widely renowned for being a CEO style coach who lets his coordinators do their thing. And I think when it comes down to it, Coach Lujan is going to be one of the hottest names on the coaching market after the national title's done. The greatest compliment I can pay to an offensive coordinator is that I never think about the offensive coordinator during the game.
Yeah.
I never, and he doesn't do the Jason Eck where he gets too cute, because we loved Coach Eck when he was here. But by God, did he love to show off that he was the smartest guy on the calling plays. He loved it. You don't get that with Lujan. And Coach Rogers as a defensive coordinator, he's well proven with that. And so if you want to talk about, is he a good coach into the future? That's a fair question, but that's not going to be answered with this game.
No, I don't think so either. I just think it's interesting to see, because there's a lot of people. He got Coach of the Year, right? I believe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, a lot of people are talking about that. It's like, should he really get Coach of the Year after inheriting a team? And a lot of Montana fans are saying that, because you look at our coach, which from the depths of like being dead to getting here is amazing. Which one would you rather kind of give the award to? I have my preference, but that's okay. They gave it to your coach, and that's fine. I think that's going to be used as ammo, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens in Frisco. So
I love the since we're at the bottom of the glass, it's a good way to end it. I love the "That's Fine" by Adam. I've heard that from my beautiful wife of 10 years many times.
That's fine.
That's
That's
fine.
fine.
That seems fine.
That's fine. It's fine.
Well, we'll be fine and fun. We'll be Frisco no matter what. So best of luck to both of you gentlemen. I appreciate you jumping on here. And if you're both down there, many more margaritas to go. So enjoy your evening, and thanks for everybody for jumping on with us. Appreciate it. Cheers,
See you,
gentlemen.
everybody.
thanks, Matt.